Yo, welcome back. How you doing? It's the Jack and Jared podcast. This is episode 16. Thank you for watching any or all of our episodes. We really appreciate it. Super grateful, super appreciative of your support. So today we are going to talk a little bit about coaching, similar to what we've talked about before with mentorship, but a little bit different. So I currently have a fitness coach. I have a spiritual coach. I just ended a little bit, maybe a few months ago, but still talk to them a little bit. Have a personal business coach that I had a session with a few years ago. And that's probably most of my experiences with coaching. Before I had a coach, thought it was a gimmick. I thought it was made up, thought it was nonsense. A lot of the people I saw who were coaches were people who I didn't see as people who were like proven or successful, didn't have like businesses that I want to be like. And I was like, why are these people telling others what to do? But for some reason, I still just decided to go through with it. One person kind of convinced me. And now I think having a coach is one of the best things. I feel like having a coach improved me or progressed me more even than like my education did. I have 2 master's degrees, and coaching probably saw more results from coaching than I did from my classes. Have you ever had coaching, Jack?
I've obviously growing up had athletic coaches.
Right.
I've started dabbling into actual more like life coaches and things. And some success, some haven't. There are actually a couple people that I've started to coach. And at the end of the day, it's a great opportunity to do a lot of things. And some of it is to help hold yourself accountable. Some of it is just having a sounding board. Like it's easy to think that you know what you want, but it's a lot harder to actually articulate it at times. So having someone just be there to listen to you and ask you why you want things and like actually fleshing it out can be super helpful. And then just literally having someone that you know that you're going to report to when they check in with you every week or however long and be like, oh yeah, like I cheated on my diet, I didn't go to the gym, things like that.
How is it different than like a consultant?
I don't necessarily.
I think is it different than a consultant?
It's it's probably just a name difference. A consultant can be a coach. I think a coach implies more of a personal touch to it, whereas consultant is more like business. But like, I think, you can be a personal consultant or a personal coach. I'm sure those names are interchangeable.
And then another question. Sorry, hopefully this doesn't feel like I'm like just shooting questions at you, but do you think everyone should have a coach?
I don't think everyone needs it, but I think it's worth experimenting with.
Why? What makes someone need a coach then?
So
Like, I didn't think I needed one. I thought I was kind of at a good place, but at the same time, I wish I could remember exactly what made me decide to get one. Once I got it though, after like 3-4 months, I couldn't believe how much difference there was. And they were really easy changes that I made. Nothing like I couldn't have looked up online and figured out. But at the same time, my whole life until that point, I never looked it online and did it. So having that little support was, I think, huge for me. But I never would have realized that I was doing well before. It's not like I was failing in business or life.
Yeah, I think a lot of coaching is just being that cheerleader, just knowing that there's someone else that is enjoying the success of your journey without having to have like any equitable return on it. And so the people that I think need coaching are people who have either a difficult time, short, middle, or long term, sticking to habits. So like diet, for instance, once you get outside of like the college years, essentially, especially like as a as a bro, there really isn't like that spring break where like you want to like shred down for. So your diet isn't just like, oh, to like lose a few pounds. Like your diet needs to be something that you can do sustainably for the rest of your life. Otherwise, you'll just like continue to fluctuate in things. So like having, if you have a hard time like sticking to it, it can be helpful to like actually talk to someone, and like maybe you want to see like more of a professional like dietitian or something like that. But like having someone like talk to you about like the things they've learned about how to make informed lasting habits and how to deal with some of those things. So it's less so like nutrients in, nutrients out, but like how to, what tricks they've learned along the way to deal with like an extended long vacation where you want to like enjoy going to Italy and eating pasta, but at the same time, like you don't want to completely destroy like your diet. And so having someone there that has already filtered out a lot of that noise online to like hand you like hand pick like tips for like your own personal like situations can be super helpful.
Mm. So yeah, I think my fitness coach right now says a lot. Like, I take the thinking out of what you need to do. So I don't need to think about my meal plan. I don't need to think about if I'm doing push or pull day, or I don't even know what that push or pull day means, to be honest. But I just follow the exercises I need to do. And with my fitness coach, I think in the last 2 months, I've probably seen more results than I saw by myself, and in like a previous 2 months. And I feel like I even did less work, which was really nice, and definitely feel like I believe that he took the thinking out of it, and now I just follow the plan. Makes it a lot easier to feel accomplished or to achieve it, and it has made a big difference, I guess. So this
So
coach, what's up?
yeah, so just in a real similar vein, talk about that real quick. Like going to the gym. If you have someone that you know is going to meet you at the gym, whether they're a coach or just your training partner or something like that, I would pretty much guarantee that the vast majority of people are going to be held a lot more accountable, not by that other person texting and calling and being like, where are you? Where are you? Are you? But just by like the knowledge that you're like letting someone down by like not showing up. And so a lot of it is that like, yeah, they take a lot of the thinking out of it and it's point and shoot. And like some of it's also like, I think we genuinely as human beings don't like to disappoint other people. And so part of it is also like you have someone else in your corner and like you don't want to like let them down.
And yeah, exactly. I mean, my coach texts me at like 5 a.m. and I wake up to him like pumping weights and saying like motivational quotes. I'm like, how can I not work out today? This dude literally woke up at 4:30 to message me and tell me what I need to do. You kind of do feel like you have to do it. You don't want to let him down. Here's a little, I'm putting you on blast. We didn't plan this before. I feel like you're going to get it though. Who is the best life coach in the country?
I think it would probably have to be Tony Robbins.
That's who I was thinking. So what makes Tony Robbins the best life coach? Like, why is he the best? And then also, I think he's super interesting. I think there's other people who probably aren't as famous, who I'm sure are pretty useful as well. But he's very expensive. At what point is like spending thousands of dollars on a coach okay? Should it be like a percentage of your revenue? Should someone like who makes only $100,000 a year spend $5,000 to see Tony Robbins, or should that be something only for people who that's like not a high percentage of what they make?
So I think this calculus that I'm about to share is both intuitive and applies to pretty much everything that involves any type of investment, whether you're a company like hiring employees or you're, personally looking for coaching, and like that's an expense because most people won't do it for free because it is laborious. And so like the calculus essentially is the if you will have like a positive return on investment, so like the difference between the value that you will get or you'll be able to cause through the assistance of the coach, or like in business hiring that person, if that is greater than the expense with all the other costs like associated with it, then it's a no-brainer. Like if you can find someone who can So like I remember learning about this in the startup, and it was talking. I was reading articles about training. We were starting to onboard employees, and at our peak, including the interns we probably had 30 or maybe 35, 40 people. And what it talked about is that employers don't do a good enough job training their employees. And they talk about like these companies are like, oh, we got to set up 2 hours a week or a month or a quarter or stuff like that, and you get 10 employees and their cost is this, and it's a lot of time wasted. But if during those 2 hours of training a week or whatever it is, you end up increasing their productivity by 5%, by 2%, it's going to be a positive return on investment because you're going to scale them. So it's like very similar to coaching. Like it may cost you $1,000, but if you're able to be a better salesperson, if you're able to be a better at whatever you do, if you're able to live like a healthier life because of it, like I guarantee, like I can't guarantee it, but like I think you're going to recoup that investment pretty well. Because like, what's the cost of being obese in this country compared to like being healthy and having a trainer and things like?
So if you, I guess it's hard to put a number to it, but I guess I agree. I feel like a lot of people have a really hard time investing in themselves that much money. So when you hear $300 a month, or even $300 a week per hour check-in for a coach, that sounds wild. And people are like, I'm not spending $300 a week on this guy to like tell me what to do. I guess I don't have like a fully developed thought on that, but how can that like perception or thought change, and how can people get more hooked in to improve themselves?
So I think like, sorry, hold on a second. My mom's dog wants to say hi. Here we go. Here's Lola.
What's up, Lola?
She's a little attention hog. All right. So I think it's very so I think it's similar to like mentorship and networking in the sense of the better that you can get at knowing really what you want to get out of the relationship, the more value you're likely to receive. So I'm talking to a friend who I'm starting to coach, and he was asking me about networking with this guy. And basically he wants to get a job in a certain industry that he's adjacent to right now, but he's not actually in. And crystallizing what that means, because it's not just a job in that industry, it's a specific job in a specific part of that industry. And crystallizing it is that, along with like some other things I told him, is actually been like really helpful in him to like understand like how to formulate and how to go about like the networking process with him and meeting with him, having a valuable discussion, mutually beneficial, so that he can get to that milestone. So with coaching, I think it's very similar, that like the more you can crystallize what you really want to get out of it, like it's like weight loss is easy. Like you want to lose weight, have a healthy lifestyle, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But more professional, like executive coaching, it doesn't necessarily need to be like you want to be a better salesperson or you want to be a better executive, or you want to like, it may be like, how do you deal with like certain stresses? Like how can you live like more in the moment so that when you get home from work and your significant other is bugging you, you can show him or her the patience to like spend valuable time with them. And so like really understanding like what you want to get out of, like how you want to improve as a person, is part of the battle, because you can't just get coached. There needs to be a milestone that you're running towards.
Yeah. What's it called? I guess I was dang, I had a thought and I completely like was about to say it and blanked on it. But what's something that you would be getting coached on right now? Are you getting coached? Have you gotten coached recently? And what's something you would have a goal as?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm getting coached, but I'm actually telling the guy like thanks but no thanks, because it just like hasn't been worked out. So for me, the biggest thing is just consistency, and taking more massive action. I'm not a perfectionist, but like I do, when I'm outside of things that I've experienced with, I am like hesitant. Like I've been saying for months, I want to start posting on TikTok. Like I haven't done it. And like, I could just use like a little bit more like accountability or something like that. And like, it sounds fucking stupid, but like, it is helpful to like have someone be like, you said you're going to do this, like go fucking do it. And so I had that. I went through like my own like dark space with like my startup like going under and be like having to readjust to my new reality and stuff like that. Like mentally, I'm in like a good space. But like now I'm like consulting for startups. I'm doing some coaching. I got like some other things going on. And it's you know, it's a lot, but it's also not a lot. And just like making sure each day, like I'm working until late in the day because like I am my own boss, like there is no one checking in on me, is like one of the things that like I'm just trying to get myself better at. So like that's like for me what it was: consistency, working like continuously until like 8, 9 o'clock at night, and just taking massive action.
Yeah, I like that. It helped me think of what I wanted to say before. Something you were saying before was like it can help you with your relationship, so you don't like get wild with someone, whatever. And that made me think like, oh, is then my therapist more or less a coach as well? And I feel like a therapist is kind of a coach in a lot of respects. Like it's my relationship coach for a lot of things. And then made me think, is being a coach, does it have, is saying someone's called a coach, could that have a negative connotation? Because some people don't want a coach. They want someone to like support them. But a coach kind of sounds like when you're in high school or middle school and a sports coach telling you what to do. And like a lot of times in professional sports, the coach is someone older because it's someone who needs to hone respect from everyone else. So do you think sometimes people don't want coaches because it's called a coach, but if you called it different things, maybe they'd be more receptive, like your nutrition manager and your relationship, whatever, some good words though, instead of coach, someone who's just telling you how to do these things?
So I think there's always opportunities to lose people because the word choice you use isn't ideal. Like, you know, we see this in all parts of life, but at the, you know, at the end of the day, I think that if you know, it's probably in that situation, it's probably someone like encouraging you to get a coach, or like I think a therapist is probably the better example, where like people hear that like, oh, you're getting a therapist or a psychiatrist or something, and like they have all these preconceived notions of like, oh, you think I'm unstable and things like that. And
Yeah.
I think coaching, I think there's probably some similarities where people think like, oh, I'm not like a kid and you know playing sports anymore. But you know, I've gotten into stoicism, and one of the things that like I would say is that if the word choice and not the value behind it gives you pause, then like that may be something else to like completely like analyze, like why you get so
Right.
hung up on initial impressions or like certain words and like why they have emotional charges to them.
Definitely, definitely. And then I guess that leads me though to something different but a little bit similar, is like how hard can a coach be on someone? So I feel like Tiger Woods, his dad was one of the best coaches, but then when you get into it, some people would look at it like it was abuse. Like he was really mean to him. Does it take being really mean to like to get the best out of you? Or is that just brutal honesty?
So I think anyone that's managed people or been a leader on a team or a coach in some any aspect recognizes that people are different. The way you approach each person needs to be different. Some people, and you know, to break people into two categories, some people need a pat on the back. Some people need a kick in the ass. Those are the two types, like two general types of motivating. If you do the wrong type to the wrong person, then it won't work. I personally you could say a million compliments to me, they're just going to go right over my head. And like, I'm not going to like be able to filter it out and figure out like where I need help with. And so like the compliment sandwich approach, like kind of is helpful, but like at the end of the day, like just tell it to me to my face. I just really want to know so I can get better. So like, so yeah, like I think you have to know, like this is communication 101. You have to know your audience. You have to know if this person's going to respond to positivity or negativity. And there's nothing wrong with either. It's just all individualized. Like, what about you? Like, what gets you going more? Like someone telling you, like, Jeremy, you're so good at this and that and this, and therefore you have an opportunity to get really good at this or something like that. Or, you know, you're so good at this, you know, you have potential in these other things, blah, 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 versus Jeremy, you're just lacking over here, buddy. Or Jeremy, you're not reaching your potential. Like you can do like I don't know what you're doing, but like you're not reaching your potential. Like what actually motivates you, or like at least encourages you to take massive action more?
I mean, telling me what's wrong is definitely good. I might not be receptive immediately. Sometimes I get a little defensive, I think, but then like once I sit on it for a little, by the next day, I'm like, all right, I know what they're saying. It wasn't personal. Like I just got to fix this. So I like to be told the truth instead of being like sugarcoated it. Relatedly though, I was talking about this with actually in a mastermind of mine. So I'm in a mastermind right now, which is kind of like a group coaching. It's with actually an old coach of mine. And I was talking about like how giving feedback or giving feedback to people, like sometimes I feel bad after I give the feedback. I give it and then I'm like, oh, like I don't know, should I have done that? I don't want to like make someone upset because like I want people to just be happy, and sometimes I want people to be happy and it ends up hurting the bottom line of like the productivity. But you actually came up in my thoughts when we were discussing it, because they were like, think of someone who you think is really good at giving feedback and try and emulate it. And I thought you're really good at giving feedback. I feel like you're just very straightforward. You say it and it's and like that's it. And there's not much more to it. And I thought that was I think that's a good trait or a good way to do it. It could be wrong, but I kind of like that model.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Like at the so I told a couple startups that are interested in hiring me for consulting work, this, and one of them wanted me more full time, and knowing, being able to really connect with the people around you, and so that when you give advice or they give advice to you, you know it's not personal, is like one of the most important things in terms of like development. And I straight up will not work with anyone, pretty much, you know, maybe there's some opportunities where I would take this back, but I won't work with anyone if I feel like they take everything personally, and I need to walk on eggshells to like give them advice, because like I am more direct. And like in Latin America, where like people are like a lot of small talk, like every morning, hey, how are you, how was your day, how's the like I'm just like spending 5 minutes like wasting time. And like I would send people, you know, not wasting time, but like I would send people like messages, WhatsApp messages, being like, hello Daniel, like you know, I send me this report when you have it ready, and he would respond like, good morning Jack, like how are you? And I feel like such a dick, but like he knew like it wasn't personal, and I'd always remind them. I'd be like, sorry, I'm just like, I'm trying to get better at this, blah blah blah. But yeah, like it can be really hard not to take things personally, but like if anything, like that is a huge thing to work on. Like if you spend, like I literally was driving around on Sunday, and a car like honked at me, and like as I drove by him, he clipped me the bird. And like if a situation like that, which like I was talking to my mom yesterday, and she went into like a similar situation where someone said something to her, and she was like talking about it like 8 hours later. Like if something like that like continues to bother you throughout the day and stuff like that, then like it can behoove you to like go through your own soul searching to figure out why you're taking that so personally when a stranger who you'll never see again is having that type of impact on you.
Giving them the power over you for no reason.
Exactly. And like my mom asked me, she's like, what would you do? And I'd be like, I'd ignore it, because like exactly what you said, like by taking it so personally and like whatever, like you give them all the power.
Yeah, exactly. I think that about wraps up my thoughts for it, and about time. There's a very wild verdict that's about to be announced in 5 minutes. Hopefully you guys, I'm not even going to mention it. Hopefully everyone just stays safe tonight and everything goes the way people wanted to go. I don't have anything new from the last week. I feel like I got plenty of things from the last week, but anything that I think that was cool or great. Actually, the Mars rover Perseverance flew successfully, the helicopter. I've talked about that 2 or 3 times. I'm going to keep on talking about that, but that was pretty fascinating. That's my only little news tidbit that I'd like to share. Do you have anything, Jack? Your dog is awesome, by the way. You guys have
yeah. So I'm actually going to talk about that case a little bit. I'm just going to real quick touch upon something that people that don't have legal background wouldn't be able to pick up on. So we're all familiar with like TV shows and stuff like that, where they're like murder 1, murder 2, or they're like manslaughter, or whatever the term is. Those are all different types of homicides. A homicide is a killing of another person. And so you can have like negligent homicide, and it's state by state. So one state will have different charges, different labels than things from a different state, and like have different rules. And what I wanted to touch upon is that the most serious versions of homicide are like premeditated murder, which is like someone planning it out, stalking or you're scouting out the location and like taking a lot of active steps to plan it out in cold blood rather than in like a heat of passion. And the reason I'm bringing this up for this case is that something that I'm almost concerned about is I think he was only charged with murder 2 and murder 3, which are the second and third highest murder charges that I think the state offers. And for each of these charges, there's a certain mental state that needs to be proven along with a physical state. And so this is where it gets tricky. If the lowest end of like homicide is just like the killing of another person, like manslaughter, like it's super easy to prove because like the mental state isn't really something that needs to be proved. It's just like the actual killing and like yeah, they did. But like murder 1 proves you need to prove that this person like that they thought about it and did things like that. And something that happened in this case, which could be a reason that he gets acquitted, is that they overcharged him. Because I think what they need to prove right now, and this isn't legal advice from my but I think what they need to prove right now, hey, mom's here, so they need to prove right here is that he inflicted trauma, or he intentionally inflicted trauma. And you know, the facts of the case are that like he had his knee on the guy's neck, but like, is that enough for him to have like the mental state of like wanting to inflict trauma? Like if I just hold you really tight, is that the same traumatic event as me beating you with a bat or something? I don't know. And it's not really for me to like completely get into the weeds of it. But all I'm saying is if he does get acquitted, it doesn't I don't think it'll mean, I think it's hard for anyone to actually think it means that he didn't do something reprehensible that he should be punished for. It may just mean, which I think it would, is that the DA got a little too zealous, overcharged him for the crime. And so even though he could have easily been guilty under a lesser crime, they overcharged him and they weren't able to meet that burden. And so I just wanted to emphasize that for people at home, that if things turn out that that this individual gets acquitted, it's one of the double-edged swords of when district attorneys, the people that actually end up charging them on behalf of the state, get overzealous. And it's something we need to be super cautious about, because like sometimes you need to settle for manslaughter or like things like that, because it can be really hard to prove some of these elements of the crime.
Yeah, I agree. And I basically, I think it's a little dangerous sometimes with how many people just share their thoughts and emotions without understanding it. Because like on TV, on that case or the one that just happened last week in Minnesota as well, they're like, no, we're not stopping until she's tried for murder. The woman who like shot with the thought it was a taser, and it's like, yo, murder means intent. Like, do you really think she thought about this and premeditated it and planned to kill him? Like, yeah, she's a horrible person. She made a horrible mistake, but I don't think she thought about it before that day. And I think when people try and go for it all, they end up getting upset when it doesn't go exactly how they want.
Yeah, so exactly. Representative Maxine Waters, or Waters, I forget how to pronounce her name. She basically said anything less than like murder is like not acceptable, and that they're going to be like rioting in the streets, and like
that's dangerous.
And it is dangerous because it's just not how the legal system operates. Like each of these terms have certain elements in them that have to be met, and if there is a shadow of doubt, there's any reasonable doubt that this person didn't have the right mental state to do that part of the crime, then he's going to get off. And so having these declarative statements of like, oh, he has to get locked up for murder without actually understanding the legal definition of murder. And you can get to a conversation that the definition isn't what you want it to be and like whatever, but it is what it is, right?
Or that it needs to change. You could say, hey, we need to change that. That's fine.
Yeah.
But to say, no, this is what it has to be this time is like, it's just not realistic.
It's not realistic. And it's really dangerous. And that is my biggest concern, that this individual who did something extremely reprehensible and deserves to be punished could be getting acquitted, because this is one of those cases that got a lot of public attention, and there's probably a lot of political pressure on the prosecutors here to really nail him, and they just got overzealous instead of, you know, focusing on, we could get him for these charges, let's just go for this, because if we don't charge him with this stuff and we only charge him with the higher stuff, then we could lose.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. If things go wild, Jack and Jer might be filmed from the woods next week. So check us out. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully everyone stays safe. That's most important. Jack, hopefully you stay safe. You're high up on the skyscrapers, but you're in the middle of everything. I can't even imagine if things happen. Everyone, thank you for everything. Love you guys as always. Like, subscribe. I'm trying to have I love talking to Jack, but I'm trying to have a guest on ASAP again. So please reach out if you're interested. We'd love to have you on. Jack, peace out, brother.
See ya. Thanks, Jeremy. Talk to you guys later.
Thank you.